ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. C'est payé, balayé, oublié. Je me fous du passé avec mes soucis.
All right. So we have today at the Bluntly series Alice May, all the way from France. And welcome, Alice. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes. So actually, we kind of have a tradition right now that, like, I think after we hosted Felipe, I decided to play some samba music, and then with Vasian Avgustinos, it was like kind of Greek song. It was a very Greek song, not a kind of Greek song. So today I decided to go with Edith Piaf. So that's
Oh,
kind
great!
of, yeah,
I was
like,
hoping you would.
yeah. So how are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Just got
Yes.
a new Edith Piaf haircut.
Yeah. So actually that fits really well with the music. That's great. So how are things in France with the corona?
Things are slowly reopening. I think they made some announcement yesterday, but I didn't really listen much to it because I
Mhm.
think my life is gonna be pretty much the same for a while. So I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. And
You
you're
know.
in Montpellier at the moment?
Yeah.
And the school is closed, I guess.
I think
Or
school is closed and bars are gonna reopen. I think maybe next week, but the
Uh-huh.
beach are gonna open, which I think
Okay.
is important in the region. And we're gonna be allowed to lay on the beach because I think until now you had to stay active on the beach, so you
Yeah.
could go swim, but you had to come back out quickly.
Mm-hmm. And your dance school, do you know anything about the dance school that you're
Like,
gonna?
I think Peter had some talks yesterday about
Uh-huh.
it. We're still trying to figure it out, but I think maybe we're gonna have classes with like maybe 10 people at a time.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure it out. Like, we want to make it safe, first of all, and then we want to make it affordable because I think a lot of people are out of work. So,
Yeah, that's true. And it's like the summertime, and I don't know how the things will work. So I actually did not really introduce you to our audience, but like actually I'm like kind of very excited because like you're actually my first true teacher. Like wow, it's been like so many years, like 12 years, like I think 2008. You were partnering up with Dax, and I was like having like every day like one private class and like dancing all the time. It was so good times, and like it's yeah, like I really want to go back to that time, and it was really nice. So Alice is, I mean, probably you know that she is one of the finest French dancers around in the Lindy Hop world, and one of the, I think, top dancers in the world also. So we're gonna interview her. Oh, okay. So I have some. Okay, like my producer was warning me that the chat stuff was like seen in the screen. Anyway, so it's gone. Yeah. So Alice, like when did you start dancing? Did you dance anything before Lindy Hop? How did you decide to have a career as a dancer?
So I kind of wanted to be a dancer since I was like a young kid.
Yeah.
And I went to boarding school from like 10 to 15, national dance school, because I wanted to be a ballerina. So I did like 10 years of ballet,
Mm-hmm.
and 4 years of modern jazz, and I think 8 years of contemporary dancing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I did first with that goal in mind. But boarding school and ballet is a really hard mentality. And so I kind of developed a little bit of an eating disorder. It was like not very healthy.
Uh-huh.
So I stopped wanting to be a professional dancer back then, like probably when I was 15. I was like, all right, that's it. I'm just going to dance for fun now. So I just continued dancing from there, and I did like more contemporary and a little bit of Sevillana dancing and
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of salsa. And eventually, I think in 2003, I started Lindy Hop.
Yeah. Oh,
But
that's
I never thought I would become a professional. Like that was kind of out of the question for me.
yeah. And you were studying back then at that moment when you started?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was doing architecture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think what happened is actually interesting. It's a mix of things, but there was a crisis in 2008, and
Yes.
it was right after I had graduated from architecture school.
Yeah.
So there was there was no job, and because I had been dancing already for 5 years at the time, and I had already been teaching workshops.
Mm-hmm.
I was unemployed, but the work that I kept on having was Lindy Hop
Mm-hmm.
and not architecture.
Okay.
And so I think eventually it allowed me to like dream again of that possibility, you know?
Yes.
And also I think for a while I was a little bit in denial. Like when I had Max or Dax as partners, I thought I was kind of doing it to be with them as their girlfriend. But I remember when I broke up with Dax, I realized that I was kind of doing it for me too.
Uh-huh.
And so eventually I remember actually the moment I was at a party in Montpellier in an apartment, and I allowed myself to be honest with my feelings and to be like, actually I think I want to do this, but it's a dream that I had given up as a child, so it was kind of weird and scary.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna try, because I thought my body is going to age and I can always go back to architecture when I'm older, but it seems like it's going to be harder to go back to dancing, you know,
Yeah, that's true.
if I'm older.
But so you have big background in, like, actually your life is basically dancing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you probably realize that a bit later in life, but I can see already that, like, yeah. So, how do you think is a big role of having a dancing background to be really good in Lindy hopping? Do you think if you start at an age of, like, let's say 25, 30, can you still pursue a career? Maybe you can pursue a career, but can you become a really good, accomplished Lindy Hop dancer? Do you think this is possible?
I think it is. I think it depends what you have done before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, let's say you haven't done a lot of dancing, but you've maybe played jazz,
Mm-hmm.
or you're good with rhythm, and maybe you've done some sort of sports or martial arts. So you have like, you know how to transfer your body weight. I
Yeah.
think it's about body awareness and rhythm for
Mm-hmm.
Lindy Hop. So I know for me, um, I'm not sure ballet was an advantage for, like, I can place my arm gracefully, but I also looked like a stick for a very long time. So it's hard to know really, but I think if you dedicate enough time to something, you're gonna eventually become good. I really believe in work. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe so much in talent, but that's my take on it, and that's also what I want to believe, because I'm into tap, and I'm
Yeah.
36, and I hope that I can get good, but there's a part of me who's like I'll never get good. I'm too old for this. But there's
Actually,
also me that
yeah,
thinks that you can, if you put work
yeah,
and time, you're gonna get good.
yeah. I mean, I'm 42 and I started tap dancing last month. So I hope I mean, I'm not gonna become a professional tap dancer, but I want to become good. Though I'm, like, kind of slacking. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So actually, today is the birthday of Dean Collins, and it's his 103rd birthday today. So yeah, I would like to wish him a happy birthday to the legend, and maybe let's just watch a small clip of him and let's remind them to our dancers. So here we
Cool.
go. All right, so that was Dean Collins with Bertha. Who was that? I forgot her name. I'm so sorry, but that was Bertha. Bertha who? Who was that? I just know her name. I will just get the name right, like in a second during the program. So, all right. I'd like to actually ask you because I mean you were already a dancer when you started Lindy Hop, but so probably you have improved like quite fast. But what was your approach to improve after a certain level in Lindy Hop dancing, and what would be your recommendation for the advanced people over there?
Well, for me, I don't think I actually ever took a lot of classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the teaching is really helpful because you have to like truly understand what you do
Mm-hmm.
to be able to break it down to someone. So I think that's definitely one way to improve.
Yeah.
The other way, and I was talking about it with a friend not long ago who was also wondering, is I think to perform.
Uh-huh.
And like by performing, I mean just dedicating the time to creating content
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how you look from the outside and working on like your aesthetic and your delivery and also your taste, because like to create something, I think you to develop your voice, you have to know what you like, what you dislike, and you have to have some sort of
Mm-hmm.
a vision. Even if that vision changes, I think uh, knowing that you can deliver things. So I would say find any occasion, give yourself a deadline, and try
Yeah.
to create some sort of content.
Mm-hmm. So you were like very efficient and hardworking to create some choreography since the beginning, or did it develop like later in your Lindy Hop?
I think it's more later in my Lindy
Yeah.
Hop. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I've done mainly social dancing for a very, very long time
Mm-hmm.
and social demos, and that went a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was more like teaching and social dancing was,
Yes.
I think, the way to get better.
Yes.
And then later on, performing was the different aspect
Mm-hmm.
of it, I would say.
And like because like we're like interviewing quite lots of people, and there are a lot of approaches, like they have like really schedule, like practice schedules. Now today I'm gonna go to the studio and practice this diligently, and also like do this, and I have to accomplish this in this week. Or some people have, okay, I'm just go to the social dancing, I'm just gonna focus on one thing only and try to do it with all the leads or all the follows. What was your approach like in this
I think
aspect?
I think it's more my approach is a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just want to have fun. So
Yeah.
like I think if you dedicate the time
Uh-huh.
and it brings you joy, it's right. So like I think maybe the hardest thing for me was to go in a studio, because like you're alone and it feels weird. Like it's not the same feel. So I think for me, social dancing a lot really helped.
Yeah.
And then, like trying to create uh, like more packaged content out of what came out of social dancing, but
Yes.
it's because of classes. But I think just you can go practice without a specific goal, like, or I don't know, just like, oh, I want to practice, like, I don't know, maybe that one idea and just like dancing a bunch. I don't know how strict people are with their
Yeah.
practice. I think you do have to dedicate the time, and also the more you practice, the less dreadful or scary each practice is, because there will be another time.
Yeah.
So I think it's more about regular practice and maybe less I don't know, planned
Yeah.
thing, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's either for me, either practicing content for classes or practicing creating a choreography. But it's quite broad. I would say it's a bit vague where I'm going. Sometimes I don't really know. It's only when I look back that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting idea that I will revisit.
Yeah. But like coming back to the choreography, how do you create your choreographies? Because we see you all the time creating new choreographies, and hopefully we're gonna see one afterwards with you and Remy. How was the process? Like, how do you find the creative ideas when you're doing this?
I think I would say it depends a little bit on it's a little bit different maybe with Felipe and Remy, because they're different people.
Yes.
It's partly, I think, working around an idea that I've had before, that I've maybe developed for class, and trying to revisit that, trying to make it fit to the music. I think the way I try to create choreography, I think, has changed a little bit from micro musical to more macro, which I think is also, it makes it easier to finish a choreography faster and to have more real dancing in it.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the trap is to pick a song and try to be very micro into that song, and then you start creating material that is not something you would ever do socially. It's a bit too far-fetched. And that's okay to go down that rabbit hole, but I think for me it helps to just make it more about the phrasing and to visit ideas I have. I think the difference with choreography that you don't have with social dancing is you want to make it visually appealing. So sometimes you have a rhythm that you like, but you have to find the move that makes that rhythm blossom.
Yes.
or vice versa. And I think when I social dance, I don't care about how it's perceived. It's more like my experience with the partner and the music. But when I do choreography, like, there is that element of like contrast, how you build it up, and how it looks from the outside. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but like when you say you have an idea of a rhythm, and like actually, do you try to find the music which that fits with that rhythm in some parts, or do you actually kind of change your rhythm according to the music that you like? How does it work?
I think it can go both ways. I think before I probably did more when I was maybe less experienced, of like, oh, that part would really work there, and then work my way around that. And I think now I try to make it a bit more natural, so there is more room for dancing. So like I used more the music as a general structure and as a feel, but less micro musical. And it's more, and sometimes there will be part where there's something that I really want to mark in the music, because I feel like, oh, that moment is so beautiful, and then I try to find something that makes that moment in the music stand out.
Yeah. So you try to emphasize more on the flow of the music rather than this instant moments, and just like how the general atmosphere of the music is, I guess, right?
Yeah, and every now and then you're gonna have those special moments that you want to show. But I think that that's the danger when you do choreography, is to like get stuck in each moment, and then you end up having a choreography that is very like in your head and very like micro detailed, and then it doesn't breathe very much, and you can't dance it because it's a little bit too far from what the dancing is.
Yeah. So I will actually maybe let's do it in a little bit when the prayer time is here, so that we can take advantage of it with the video. So, right. I'd like to talk about more like on actually your like perspective, like this creation thing. Also, like you create your style in dancing, and you have a like distinctive style in dancing actually. So, what are the processes or necessary steps to create your own style in dancing? Like, does it come naturally, or did you do something? Like, did you do like deliberately? Hey, this is gonna be my style, or how was that?
No, no, there was none of that. I think I don't know. I think it just develops over time.
Yeah.
Probably what you feel or what you hear is gonna show in your dancing, and I think the quality of movement is something that I think is very much in your body. Like I'm more, for example, like I'm not a very poof paff energetic kind of dancer, and so maybe a little bit of my style comes from doing ballet or from liking relaxed songs. I think I've tried to copy other people,
Yeah.
like when I started, I looked at videos and I tried to do their thing, but even if I was doing their thing, I was doing it my own way.
Yeah.
And I think at first it was maybe more frustrating because I was like, oh, I can't get it to look like that. But now I'm fine. I just move like that. And I think it's beautiful that that's the beauty of the dance. Everybody moves a little bit different. And I think we gotta let that exist. And I think it's more about the music and the rhythm, and the look is kind of it. I don't think it should be the primary thing in the dance,
Yeah. So I actually had interviewed quite a lot of people with a lot of backgrounds in dancing. So especially like in ballroom dancing, and you're from ballet, like in all these types of dancing, you have this exactly like, okay, you have to look, to northeast, like 25 degrees. Your hands should be like that and this. But in Lindy Hop, none of them is possible. Like you cannot say, hey, like you have to look straight there, and like you have to have like 50 degrees your leg, something. So actually the dancers don't have a target to go, like to practice.
Rhythm.
Rhythm.
Rhythm is your target.
Rhythm is our target. That's great. So how should we practice the rhythm? Like how should we hear the rhythms?
You listen to a bunch of swing music,
Yeah.
and you try to feel the music and dance in a way that reflects the feel of the music. And each music is going to have a little bit of different feel. So, for example, the bounce is like one way to take that rhythm. But that bounce is not something that is mechanical and unchangeable. It changes with the feel of the music.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's something that is I don't have a tool or an exercise. It's really something you just try to dance in time, and then with the feel of the music, and then you will find your way. But it doesn't happen over time. I think it took me a lot of years, but it's not something I really have an exercise for.
Yeah.
It's just like listening, making sure you're stepping on time and starting to understand more swing rhythms. But the look of it is, I think if it feels good, it looks good. And if it's on time, it
Yeah.
looks good.
Yes.
So I think there will be the two things, but the look of it is, it's a side effect. I don't think it should be a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people get caught up in that, but also like I think those days with all the direct feedback we get from like the videos and Instagram and all that, I think it's easy to get caught up in that look.
Yeah.
But then it makes the dancing like super shallow.
Yeah.
And I think it's harder to stay in love with it, because I think the joy of the dance comes for me like to like dancing in rhythm and dancing with someone that feels so good. And
Mm-hmm.
if you go for that, I think you're gonna stay in love with the dance. But if you go for the look, because it's empty,
Yeah.
it's so like disappointing, you
Yes.
know.
Yes. 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 Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Like, but though the looks are also good, like aesthetically, like I don't know, like if you can stand yourself like seeing in the video, that's a good thing. Like, okay, now I feel it's also good on the video, which is nice.
Yeah,
But
it's a
like,
plus.
yes. How about like the swing feel? Like we always talk about the swing feeling. Like, is there an like universal essence for the swing feeling, or has everyone got a different feel? Like, because you're also dancing with lots of partners. How does it feel? Is it the same with everyone, or do you have your inner swing feel when you're dancing?
I mean, I am really not an authority, so everybody feels different. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Uh-huh.
But I think there is on time,
Mm-hmm.
there is rushed,
Mm-hmm.
and there is laid back. And I know it's hard to dance with people that like rush the beat, because it like, as a follower, it's hard to feel like I have to slow down my partner. So like I would say for me, swing is more like of a laid back feel. I was watching Instagram class from a tap dancer, Sarah Reich, and she referred to the swing feel, the triplets, as the hippie beat. And I think it's because like the triplet is such a, it's kind of laid back.
Yeah.
So in that sense, swing I think should have that laid back feel to it.
Yes.
But everybody's gonna feel different.
So, like maybe there are some people who don't know what like laid back is, or on time, or rushed. How can you describe it, in a nutshell, those feelings?
I guess early on the beat feels a bit more aggressive and forced, and laid back feels a little bit more like a massage. Like I don't know, like you have all the time in the world, like
Yeah.
it's no rush, it feels like you're in peace with yourself. And those things, they definitely come with time, but yeah, I think laid back feels a little bit more like meditation, like you're watching the thing happening before your eyes, like instead of like making it happen, there's like a little bit of that distance maybe.
Yeah.
It's a hard feeling to describe, but I would say like for me the feel of it is that's the best thing about dancing with someone and dancing to swing music, is like there's that kind of heaviness and delay to it. I don't know. Cute.
Yeah. Yeah. So next time I'll try to dance way laid back with you.
just dance how you feel, but I'm
Yeah.
saying like it's like dance how you feel, as long as you're listening to the music, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah.
You're listening to the music and to your partner. It's about how you manage those two in your equation.
So, like, talking about rhythm, do you think tap dancing would help Lindy Hoppers to develop a sense of rhythm, or since
I
you're
think
also doing it?
I'm trying so hard. It's so hard. I mean, it definitely helps because it's so, it's like you zoom into the beat, like so you get more, you understand more of the subdivisions, and so it definitely. Um, I don't think you, I don't think you necessarily need it, for a while. But it helps you understand those things that are in the music that maybe you don't understand, and then you understand it a little bit clearer. But tap dancing is super tricky, I find, like especially like finding how to be in rhythm and dance at the same time. Like coming from a dancer's perspective, I know what it feels like to dance. But then when I try to do those specific weight change, it's so frustrating because I feel like, how can I dance and do those things at the same time? And I think it takes, it's going to take me so many years until I can be remotely okay. But I would recommend it just because I think it makes you a lot more aware of timing. So it's definitely helpful. For example, that's both, I think Felipe and Remy have that strength, like they've both done music, Remy DJs and Felipe has done drums. And I think it definitely it helps you have better taste in your dancing because you don't get caught up into that flash and how it looks, but it's closer to the art form. So I would say you can do it, but be patient. Be patient, persevere.
So, do you think you can correlate tap and Lindy Hop dancing? Like, can you get something out of tap and put it into your Lindy Hop?
I mean, I'm trying, but it's very it's baby steps. So I can sort of right now, think of like variations. If it's a slow tempo, it helps me with my timing. I think right now I just learned a choreography from Bill Robinson, and I think it's the first time where I kind of see how my dancing in solo jazz and how the tap dancing can connect because the movements are like closer to solo jazz, and I think the rhythms are a little bit they're swing, so I understand them better because tap is so broad. You could be doing like straight rhythms, you could be doing funk, you could be doing anything, and like those things are definitely harder for me, and I don't feel them the same way. So like swing is my safe place. It's the thing I understand because it's in my ears. It's been in my ears for 15 years now. So because tap is so broad, it may not help you directly, and it's also very frustrating. But I think like I can see the window between like solo jazz and tap and how they work together. So it's inspiring there, but it's tricky.
Yeah. Okay, so we actually had the prayer, and
Yeah, I heard.
I didn't interrupt you because you were speaking so good. Now let's go to last year's Snowball. Was it last year's Snowball? You had a really beautiful choreography with Remy, and let's watch it, and then let's comment on it after a bit. And unfortunately, you won't be able to hear it and listen to it. So
That's all right.
but you know how it went. So here we go.
And to dance to these fantastic musicians, we got Remy and Alice.
right. So it's like it's excellent. Like the quality of movement, rhythms, everything. The show. I like. I go back and watch it all the time. And there's actually a group of dancers in Istanbul which are practicing this, and I hope. Well, they were going to show it like. If there wasn't Corona, but hopefully after that they're gonna have it. But I think I've heard you've changed it from the last time. Is that true?
I think we just created the second part a little
Okay.
bit more
Yes.
because we created it like super fast
Uh-huh.
because we were at Swim Costa Brava, and I think on Friday we were at the party, and I think the band played it, and we were like, wouldn't it be cool to just like kind of create a choreography to the Big Apple song, you know? And we're like, and I was like, yeah, that'd be so great, you know? And Remy was kind of half joking,
Yeah.
but then I was like, you know, I think it's a really good idea. I really want to do it. So like during the lunch break, I started like mapping it out, you know,
Yeah.
and then like I think it took us maybe, I don't know, maybe a day and a half. I don't know. We're at the workshop and we created there, but we only had time for the first part. So I think that's why at Snowball it was different, because we had time to actually try to choreograph the second part a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Generally, to make a full choreography, how much time do you need? Is it like days or weeks or months?
No. I think usually it depends what you want out of it, but I think if you want it to be quite natural and with enough room for dancing, for Remy and I, maybe it takes us, I don't know, I want to say maybe four afternoons or something like that. You know, maybe 4 days. Maybe with Felipe, because I have a little bit more crazier ideas and he lets me do it, it takes maybe more 1 week. But also like I think they're both very fast, and I'm also still like I'm still a fast learner, but I think they're both like keep me on my toes, you know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take too long, and I think it's nice because it can remain natural, so I like that. But it's also based on like years of practicing.
Yeah. But like remembering the sequence, does it like come just instantly, or do you need like to practice over and over to remember everything?
I mean, I think the things that I have to remember the most is footwork.
Yeah.
You know, I think I am a fast learner, but also I'm following.
Yeah.
So like I can get away with forgetting sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
But still the footwork is there, so
Yeah. So like when I feel like, you know, my hard drive is getting a little bit too full,
yeah.
I just kind of like choose the moments I have to remember, and then I cheat my way through like social dancing some part of it. But that's if the choreography is really fresh and we have to perform it, and I don't quite entirely know it, I kind of choose what to remember. Or like if let's say I notice that my partner tends to forget that part, that's the part I would choose to remember more, so I can guide us back in if something bad happened.
So okay, you said like you're following, so maybe you don't need to memorize the sequence, but like especially socially, like social dancing, the role of followers change, and therefore even in the performances, like over the years since I started, like it was 2005, 6. It's in 15 years it changed a lot, and since you were there like from this process, how do you think the role of the Lindy Hoppers changed, the perspective over the years change, and how do you interpret that, and how does it reflect in your dancing?
So it's a broad question, but it's a good question. So it has definitely changed, and I think it went a little bit through some extremes. So like I think the original Lindy Hop was maybe more simple in terms of like moves and connection with the partner, and it was stronger with rhythm and in connection to the music. And then when I started, it was a bit more lead and follow heavy, where it was about leading intricate move and changing the
Yes.
timing of moves in a way where I think it kind of ended a little bit controlling. Then I think because of change in the society, and like I think followers being most of the time women, not always, but at the time maybe I think there was kind of this sense of like wanting to have a stronger voice as followers.
Yeah.
And so I think it ended up being a little bit more about how can I be seen, how can I do my own thing, and it went back to another extreme of where some people are teaching back following, and and then you have the Swedish, who are usually more tradition heavy, and they want to reproduce exactly things the way they were. So you have that entire scope of Lindy Hop, and I think I definitely came from a follow heavy, lead heavy kind of thing, and it used to be my preference. And I think I started understanding more maybe the spirit of swing and the rhythm and the freedom. So I started maybe disliking a little bit controlling leads, but I still enjoy following very, very much because I love how it feels, and I like to be able to insert what I have to say within the lead. So I still consider myself as very much a follower, first of all, and it's also what keeps me in the dancing is that feel of following. And I think if I didn't have that love for following, maybe I would be bored with Lindy Hop by now. But because of the way it feels and because of social dancing, I'm still like ready to do it. So I think my dancing has evolved a little bit in the sense of my priority was no longer just following, but it was dancing and dancing in rhythm. But it's very strongly based on the foundation of following. Because I think the other extreme of kind of like doing your own thing within the basic moves is also, I don't know, it's kind of limiting the dance. So I think dancing has bounced a little bit into the extreme of over leading and following, over doing your own thing, over going into the 20s music, instead of the 40s. It has kind of gone around a little bit everywhere. And I think I just worry about the extremes. Like I think any extreme is a bit unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I think my dancing and my taste right now is I still enjoy to follow, and I like when we can lead movements that are a little bit beyond the basics. So I think most of the basic moves are 6 or 8 count, but I like having the possibility to communicate a difference in that, a different timing, a different feel. So this is definitely part of my dancing, but I also want to be able to put myself into it. And I don't want my leader to micro lead what I have to say.
Yeah.
I want to have an information that I can interpret and maybe slightly alter, but it has to come from a place of understanding what that information is. And I get a little bit worried sometimes when we teach people to just do what they want, because I'm very attached to that feel of dancing with someone.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead.
When I started, it was like in that extreme. Okay, you have to lead 100%. You have to follow 200%. And like if you cannot follow, then you're a really bad follow. And because it's always the follow's fault. I mean, they always say, "Oh, it's the lead's fault," but in the inside, you knew it was the follow's fault because.
Oh, that's so not true.
Yeah, but do you think that people came to understand that there's no such thing as like 100% lead and 100% follow, because we we always make mistakes like in the dancing, and
I mean, definitely. And then there's that other part of like understanding at some point that your dancing is your leading
yeah,
and your dancing is your following. Like they're not, the way you move your body and the way you dance gives an information. But it's not like your goal is to lead somebody. Your goal should be to dance with someone.
yes,
And that dancing is gonna have a feel, a message, maybe a timing in it. But it's really tricky, to find that subtlety, to talk about leading and following without overthinking it, without taking it away from the. It's hard to make it. If you lead, like if you teach leading and following, you can make it very sterile and you can lose the dancing.
yeah,
But also, if you just make it sometimes about just the rhythm, you can never know what it's like to follow someone. And I think if you had to choose, it's still better to dance in rhythm and be disconnected than to be perfectly connected and out of rhythm, I would say. But like the for me, the leading and following aspect, or like feeling somebody's movement, is something that I'm really attached to. But I think there's a place for everybody. So you're gonna have some followers who listen more, some followers who like are louder, some followers with high energy, some followers with lower energy, and it's the same with leads. But I find that really tricky. I think it takes a lot of years. Like it takes knowing what it's like to follow someone to know what it's like when you don't follow someone, and it takes knowing what it's like to dance to swing music to know when you've stopped dancing. It's a very awesome dance. It's very rich.
Do you think that like when I started learning, it was like lead heavy, community, and I always felt it's so much responsibility to dictate all the footwork of the follows, like almost everything, like what she will do, where she will go, and what rhythm and everything.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, but do you think that it like this kind of more freedom on the followers' side, and like they can come up with their own voice, like kind of rhythmically embellished the dancing, like Lindy Hop dancing, because it's not only one person now doing the rhythms. Also,
it was always two people, because like
yeah,
you can't
but
do two people dance if there is nobody to follow your lead.
yeah,
You're not doing anything. So it was always a two-person thing. But I think followers maybe didn't know they had so much interpretation to make, or so much choice. It felt more maybe passive at a time. And then when it became more active, it bounced to that other extreme of like being so active in your dance that you no longer listen to the person you're dancing with. And I think the thing is like, I think leaders kind of became numb to listening to their partners, and we just became more and more like we were silent. And so as we became a bit more vocal, leaders had to start listening. But the other extreme of just I do my own thing also worries me, because I really enjoy connecting with someone. So when I see just people doing their own shit, I'm like, well, you might as well dance on your own, my friend, So it's really tricky. I think for me, it's about getting an information and then like finding how you express it, but also it's getting a good basic, like is really a goal. And I think once you have that strong basic, kind of variations come out without trying to. They're just like a way to keep the rhythm, but there's this romanticization of like wanting to do cool stuff and wanting to do a lot of things, and it's one way to learn, but it can also take away from what it's like to dance with someone and to just listen to the music. You know, I don't know if it's clear.
Yeah, I think it's clear. On the other hand, like talking about this other extreme, like where the followers don't listen to the leads, or like do their own thing. It's kind of like reminds me of this Hegelian dialectic. Like there was this first lead, and then there comes the follows, and then now it's kind of mixed. But also you reminded the Swedish dancers, like who are actually traditionalists. Like when I actually watch the older movies, like maybe except from Norma Miller or Jewel McGowan, like they're crazy, like like all over the place. But all the other followers that we see, like they're actually just following, like really following, and maybe not so much trying to do their own thing, but maybe because it's all choreographed, and also like super fast, everything is super fast, so you don't have much time to create like intricate things. What is your like opinion about that, like about the older dancing? So what can we get out of that?
Well, a lot of acting videos we have are definitely performances, so they're like faster with aerials and stuff like that. I think so. I think it's interesting. It used to be kind of harder for me to break it down because I think I was caught up in like the look and not understanding that it was a timing thing, and that if you shoot for the timing, your body will adjust to do the right thing. I think it's nice that they have people that stick to tradition and like remind you all the time, hey, so that we don't lose that essence. But I think it's also nice to let it evolve a bit. And I don't know how it was then, but like, if you're doing a choreography super fast, you're probably not following 100% either. You must know what you're doing.
Exactly, yeah.
So like there's more responsibility. And I remember when I started, like followers, like, I don't know, we took away, or like, you would hear those things like just follow. Because I think but following is an act. It's the act of listening, and interpreting. It's really like a conversation where you're going to say something and I'm going to listen, but I'm going to receive it with my own baggage. So I have my own lenses on, and I'm going to understand it with my past and everything. And that's what it's like to follow. And then you react. And I think as followers are more vocal, maybe leaders have to learn to listen and adjust a little bit more. And it can go either back and forth in the dance, or like maybe some followers are going to be more innate leaders, and vice versa. So I don't really know how it was back then, because there are a few clips of social dancing, but not that much. And I think the dance was also it was more social thing that everybody was doing, because that was the music of the time. So you had your basic moves, and that was it. It was just about like you do your 6 count and your 8 count, and you have a good time listening to the music. And that's perfect. And I think we've like I know when I started teaching, it was very like way too technical, way too disconnected from the music, because we were trying to figure out what we were doing. And we learned some stuff along the way on how to communicate better, how to let that dance be alive and change too. But we also kind of made it bounce to all the different extremes.
Yeah. So okay, it's our like last 5 minutes, and like the listeners can also ask their questions, and I will ask them to you. And actually, we have a question from Ria Rakotondrainibe. I think that's a she or he. I cannot see. if you would be a leader, what kind of leader would you be? And if you can pick a leader that actually exists, which one would it be? Okay, this is a tough question.
Ooh, that's a tough question. I mean, I really don't know because I don't enjoy leading so much.
No?
Um,
Really? I
no,
saw
I
you
don't.
leading, actually. Haven't I? I think I have.
Yeah, but like with Pamela, you said?
Yeah?
Yeah, but when you lead with Pamela, you do more following anyways. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Okay.
it's not that different. It's like I do a thing and she does another thing, and in a way, it feels like it. You know, it's nice because she's a dancer. Ooh, you have a call. It's you can I can feel like I can dance and my dancing is leading, so it's fine. But I think I wouldn't mind being Sky because of that, because I feel like his dancing is so committed and it's clear, but there is enough freedom in it. So I would like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some other leaders that are a bit more controlling that also have great skills.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think I would probably be okay being like Remy or Felipe as well.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I hope so. So, don't you prefer to do aerials? If so, why? From Pinar, you do aerials, but you don't really do a lot, like
I used
recently.
to.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's more of like a business kind of like finding the right partner,
Mm-hmm.
first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Thomas was not really a aerial person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I didn't do it then. And as you get older, you get more injuries doing aerials, and there's so much dancing you can do without aerials
Yeah.
that I think it's safer for me not to do it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't think I've ever been a very athletic person. Um, so I think people that are more athletic, that are more like, that have like, this firing energy, like, I don't know, I think of Annie or Natasha or Michaela, like more fiery people, I think tend to be better at aerials. I like
Yeah.
them. I just don't really think it's my strength.
Yeah.
So how many
Okay.
times am I going to bang my head against the wall, for something that I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
really good at. But I like them, and I think they're definitely like a big part of Lindy Hop. It's just
Yeah.
at this point, for me, they become more a danger. So is it really exciting to know I could break a leg? I don't know.
Well, I'm like when Nils and Bianca are doing, I always like, oh my God, it's like Bianca breaking his like
But
waist
they're
or something.
kids. They're kids. That helps.
Yeah, but it's scary. So
Yeah, but you eventually find your timing, and like if it's like anything, if you do it enough, you know where you are in space, and
yeah.
it's not so dangerous. I think it's more dangerous for me too because I'm scared. So because I'm scared, my body reacts stupid and it freaks out.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think they're awesome. Aerials are great. I'm
Yeah.
just a chicken.
So another question from Denise: is there a specific system that you follow while mapping the choreos?
Yeah, I have my own little tricks.
Yeah.
If it's a swing,
You want to
I,
reveal?
I draw a little square.
Uh-huh.
So like one line is a measure. So
Yeah.
I do 4 measures is a square.
Okay.
And that's my phrase, and then I line the phrase until I have a chorus, and then I move on to the next chorus.
Uh-huh.
And if it's blues, then I make it a little. I don't know how it's called when you have 6 corners. Hexagon?
Sextagon? What again?
I don't know. I don't know.
Hexagon? No, not hexagon.
But hexagon is 5, so I said
Yeah.
sexagon, but maybe it's too sexy. I don't know. So I make those little. I try to map out more the. I used to map it out like too precisely, but I think then it becomes too much information. So now I just map the phrases, and I write if there's anything like specific happening, or I usually write like who's soloing at that moment, if it's the theme, just so I understand the general structure of the song, and it's a little bit easier to have a vision of the entire piece. You don't get too caught up in the details.
All right, so I think we are almost running out of time, and my producer is actually pushing me to hexagon. Yeah, it's a hexagon.
Just make
I knew
her
that.
shut up. Just make her shut up.
Oh, did my voice go? Okay, so there are some other questions, I think, or I'm just checking. Okay, no, it's a hexagon. I kind of knew it. Wow, I'm impressed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Pentagon is like 5 edges. Yeah,
Ah.
hexagon. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Here you go,
So,
Matt.
okay. After this, we have solo jazz from A to Z by Bilge in about 3 minutes, if I can finish it. Next week, we're gonna have hopefully. I'm checking whether I have an answer. No, not yet. But anyway, like we have probably some people from the Mediterranean again next week at the Bluntly series. Thank you very much, Alice, for joining us today at the Bluntly with Alice May. And
Thank
I hope
you for your
to.
awesome questions.
One more question, like everyone is wondering about: when will Alice be back in Turkey?
Man, I don't know at this point when I'll be allowed to like do my thing again. I really want to come back. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry it hasn't happened yet. It's been always like September usually fills up quickly, and
Yeah.
but I hope I will come back. You know,
So yeah, I hope not this one, but the other Orientland Express. We hope you're gonna be there. So thank you very much, and we have again our jingle here. Just a sec. I'm so bad at like preparing this.
I can entertain the crowd.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Je ne regrette rien, or whatever. I cannot. I think
Yeah, je
pronounce
ne
it.
regrette rien.
Yes, I don't regret anything. Is it right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Here you go.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien,